I'll now talk about our Jurong project. Someone asked me, why the Jurong project? Well, it's because the family that owns the Jurong Point Shopping Mall is a friend. And I was having a chat with him one day, and he said, if you are really interested to do a study in the community, I can give you a space. The space is about the size of this room, The real estate is very expensive at the shopping mall. He gave it to us free. He paid the rental and also did the renovation for us, I got this idea from a friend from Australia, a chap from Melbourne. He told me it's very difficult to do research in Melbourne because even in Melbourne there's stigma. And so they will not come to the psychiatric clinic, or they will not come to the mental hospital. So the suggestion that maybe you should do something in the community, in a shopping mall, and this is what we did. And we got a small grant, and our nurses would go to about 30 blocks of flat. Every room they would knock on the door to find out anyone above 65. You come, invite them to the Jurong Point Shopping Mall. There'll be a room down there for an assessment, and each assessment, physical health, mental health, social support, and quality of life. It takes about 2 hours to give them time to have a break. So it's very, very meticulous, very, very tedious. And also for investigations, for all the elderly people, there's just going to be about 1,000 people. All of them, we have a very detailed psychological rating scales of the depression and dementia, and also neuropsychological tests. And this is also takes about 2 hours. It's very, very tedious. However, for those with a randomized control study, RCT, they go through brain imaging, cytokines, telomeres, and genetic studies. There are 2 RCTs. One is on mindfulness practice for the prevention of dementia and depression. The second one is in fact suggested by our previous professor of gynecology and obstetric, Dr. Maureen Sarkok. Maureen was previously NUS, also the convener of the seniors choir. Her suggestion is, if we were to bring old people together, and many elderly Chinese, they love to sing. If we bring them together and teach them the songs and sing the choir, could that promote mental health and bring down depression and dementia? And this is a very exciting research question. So this research will be also an RCT, will be for next year, and the lead researcher is Dr. Fenley at the back. But this is very, very expensive. Is Dr. Sunil here? He's in charge of the labs, and some of these tests are all very expensive. I hope that Sunil will lower the cost for us, and also the imaging is exorbitant. Right. So if you remember, I told you that the first part of the program is Professor Goh will talk to the elderly people on hypertension, on diabetes. And the second part, there are 4 forms of therapies. The first one is Tai Chi. You can read the neuroscience of Tai Chi and mood and memory here. I have no time to discuss with you. But look at this person, our Tai Chi master. It's none other than Professor Lau Tan Ching there. So within NUHS, there's so much of talent. People are versatile. And this program, we are on a shoestring budget. So people came as volunteers. So the tagline of this program is Preventive Medicine in the community, by the community, and for the community. So it's a community response. Volunteers, donors who came to give us money. We had 2 big donors. One is the Kwan Temple, gave us $1.8 million, and also the people from the Jurong Point. They send us money every year. So it's the community that comes to support this program. I hope you can find people here in NUHS who have other talent. Last year I was talking to one of the young doctors. He told me he plays classical guitar. Very interesting. The genre of Andre Segovia, John Williams. But unfortunately, sometimes we don't know each other well enough. For example, you go to the lift later on. No one greets each other or smile at each other. Everyone is looking at their smartphone. The second therapy is mindfulness practice. Right? And you see that the person who leads the team is none other than Mr. Wee Sin To. He was then NUS Vice President. He's not a doctor, but he's there, and he brought other people together also. So it's wonderful to have people who volunteer. The Chinese word for mindfulness is Zhen Nian. So you see this pictogram. Can you see at the back, Fen Lei? Yes. It's the shape of a heart, So it's not just about the mind, but also the heart. But this program can stir up a sense of compassion, a sense of empathy for other people. We begin to notice that in the Jurong Point study, that the stronger elderly, those between 65 to 74, the young old, begin to take care of the old. They'll serve them tea, they'll wheel them to live. So there's a sense of compassion. And before they came to the Jurong Point Center, they were living probably in the same flat, but they don't know each other. Now they know each other, they recognize each other. So we thought that maybe the beginning of a community spirit, an ethos within the community, that the young old can take care of the old. Once again, you can, at time, you read the neuroscience of mindfulness. Mindfulness is not an American invention. In fact, it originated from India. And also there's art therapy, the third art therapy. So if you look at all the programs here, they are very, very Asian. It's nothing too Occidental, nothing too Freudian. It's a very Asian approach. The most popular program there is music. Right, I think we got it. It's called Music and Reminiscence. In the beginning, I thought we should do narrative therapy. An expert in narrative therapy is here, Dr. Chiang Hai Ding. Yeah, he was a historian or previous ambassador. Patients will come to my clinic. I'll tell them that they will tell me that I have dementia. They will be staring to emptiness every day. There's no activity. So I'll tell them that when you go back home, why not write the story of your life? For all of you in this room, each of you have an interesting story of your life, so different from mine. I looked after a GP some 10 years ago with dementia, and I told him, write the story of your life. He told, no, my life is so boring. I'm a GP, so cough and cold every day. Not a psychiatrist. You see people, it's interesting, convoluted minds. So I said, you tell me something. So because at home he'd be doing nothing. The wife complained. Sometimes the carers are under a lot of stress, and he's not doing anything. He's sitting down there, lying on the sofa. So in fact, he wrote down about early days of his life. He told me that he was a medical student just before the war. So in 1942, in January, he told me that when he was leaving the emergency department of SGH with his friends, suddenly they look up the sky. There were Japanese warplanes, and one of the planes dropped a bomb and killed about 5 medical students, and they helped to bury a student behind the medical school. And he told me that during the war years, the medical school shifted from SGH to Tan Tock Seng, which I didn't know about, and later on he moved on to Malacca General Hospital. So I thought maybe this chap, early dementia, be a confabulation. So what I did was to check up with our medical historian, Professor Chia Jin Singh. So Prof. Chia said, it's true. So I said, Prof. Chia, at that time I was also the editor of the Singapore Medical Journal, SMJ. So why don't you write a piece for us at the SMJ, so that people will know this part we don't even realize. So Prof. Chia wrote an article on the medical school during the war. And if you're interested, it's on the Christmas issue of SMJ 2000. So for the elderly in Jurong, some of them don't go to school, so it's difficult to write. So I told them, maybe you should give me your photographs when you're very young till present, and then you'll tell the story of your life. So this is one person. He was born in Malaysia, or in Malaya, in Butterworth. I don't think many of you, besides Professor Wong here, knows where is Butterworth. Butterworth is a small. You know it? Yeah. Oh, Vincent knows it in Malaysia. Small town next to island of Penang, and the strip of land there was called Province Wellesley. So whenever he talked to me, he said, "Well, I'm from the province." In Malaysia, you tell someone you're from the province, people know you're from Province Wellesley. You tell people in Singapore, they think you're being very provincial. Yeah. So he was born there, and then he mentioned that in his younger days he used to play in the beach near Penang called Batu Feringhi. So Vincent, you're from Penang, is it? KL. So it's PC Wong. PC Wong will tell you, yes, I've been to Batu Feringhi. So can you imagine if you're an elderly person in Jurong and you live alone and you stare in emptiness every day? There's no activity. But now at the Jurong Point, they'll sit down and discuss among each other. Another will say that, I've been to Batu Feringhi Beach, it's a wonderful beach and all that. And people will be talking, there's a lot of discussion. And then he came to Singapore, and then this is Hock Nam Street. At the back is the fire station. And invariably, someone will say, Hock Nam Street, oh, I love the beef noodle. So it's always a beef noodle at Hock Nam Street. And then he lived somewhere in Tiong Bahru, and in the coffee shop. So the coffee shop of the 60s or 50s are like that. Now it's all Starbucks and Coffee Bean. So that's where people live. And later on, he became the president of the Gerontological Society of Singapore. And he was, for his many years of volunteerism, given an award by the minister. And someone will say, who is this minister? Well, he's one of our doctors here at NUS, and there'll be a lot of discussion. So this, within the group itself, the group therapy go on, and ask them that maybe you should also tell us what is your favorite, or which is your favorite song. And the song, some people will talk about the name of the song, the singer, the composer. So this is some discussion will be going on. So for this man, this is his favorite song.
你问我爱你有多深，我爱你有几分。
So you see, when I look down, I can see Tyrone and Tan Hui Chim smiling away. Why did he smile? Because this song came on when you were probably in secondary school. And where we store our memory, that hippocampus, is surrounded by a structure of the brain called the limbic system that modulates our mood. So it's linked to it, so they smile. So the time in the life that Tyrone or Tan Hui Chim, life is so carefree, isn't it? Now you're working NUH, pressure or workload, so it's reflection. So this is a part of the reflection, but the caveat is you have to be very careful, because sometimes a song can stir up sad memories, right? So in one incident, an elderly person in Jurong Point, she talked about her travels in Europe, in Venice, and then showed a picture of her visit to the Hiroshima memorial. And one elderly person became very sad, even angry, Then we asked him why. Because during the war, the Japanese killed my father and my brother. I will never want to visit Japan. And he became very tearful. So if we want to run a program, we hope people will be trained in group therapy, because we don't want them to open up Pandora's box and not too sure what to do now. So I think with all these 4 therapies, we assess the mood and cognition of the elderly people. So we have now a 1-year follow-up study. This is only 3 months. You see that the mood has gone down. For depression and also anxiety has gone down. It's very significant. Right? Initially, when we did the World Health Study, we thought that anxiety is not a problem for old people. The prevalence is only 0.5. But recently, anxiety has gone up. And the question in talk to old people is that inflation, the cost of living, the fear of illness and dependency. The initial world study was over at Chinatown, where although they come from very poor background, they actually came from the same village in China, so they know each other very well. But because of urban reorganization, the people from Chinatown are sent to Toa Payoh, Ang Mo Kio, everywhere. They're scattered, so that the support is gone. So now there's a lot of anxiety amongst them. But coming together helps to lower down the anxiety. And then we compare the different modalities. You find that music came down very fast. Then Tai Chi came down also. And so mindfulness came down. Art took a longer time, but it came down also. So although music came down fastest, towards the end, they're about the same. Right? So we find that these are very interesting ways that these are non-drug approach. Something that are very familiar to old people, nothing too occidental that they cannot understand. The next issue is whether it will help in terms of memory and concentration. So Later on at the foyer, you can see some posters there. There's a poster, I think it's at age 7 and 17, that talk about the details of some of this research here. And I hope you'll make a beeline to look at these posters. There's also a poster on parenting that we did amongst the elderly people here. And we found it's very interesting because I mentioned to a colleague of mine, someone asked me earlier on at the foyer, who is Tan Gyok Yin? Tan Gyok Yin, the late Tan Gyok Yin was a homemaker who kept a low profile, but her husband was a banker, philanthropist, with a prominent public life, with even a hospital named after him. But this lady was just a homemaker, But if we were to reflect upon our lives, our mother, the homemaker, has played a big role in our lives, in our career. We did a study among the baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 1964. We found that about 70% of baby boomers told us that it was their mother, the homemaker, who molded their career. And 75% told us that it was their mother who talked to them about family history and also values. So the mother, the homemaker, is the person who influenced the development of the ethical mind, something very, very important. We published it in a book called Aging Baby Boomers. And there's also a poster at C5, I think, written up by our research assistant, Mr. Heikel, who you could watch that or read that. So I think as we come back to this again, you find that all the activities seem to be very helpful, although they still enjoy music more. So what about the memory? For the memory, we combine the results of the mini mental state. It measures recent memory, concentration, orientation. And this is what we found. So whatever we do, about 57% of old people, their cognition continue to decline. Whatever we do, you can do. However, about 24% of them remain stable. These are people, the mean age about 70 years old. All right? And interestingly enough, about 20% of them improve. This is very good results because for 70-year-old people, if they stay at home and do nothing, from some data in the world, I think some of us have got the results, we expect maybe 80% will decline. For people who stay alone at home and do no activities. And maybe just about 20% here, but very few will have any improvement. So we think that this kind of non-drug approach, psychosocial intervention, can improve the cognition of elderly people. Now the question is, what about people who continue to decline, or people with dementia? Has all this kind of activities any impact on the brain? A few years ago, I had a referral from Malaysia.